getting ready to do another show for you here. This is going to be a very special show because a lot of people have seen me talk about and shown you how to map the globe and how to go around the world and use the real pie to find real geographical locations and all of that on the globe here in the world. But this show is going to be similar to that. It's just that I was allowed to map the underworld or the spirit world or whatever reference you might want to call it. It's that anyway. They have a set law of that they have as well as we do here with the living and how we go about business here on the globe. They have just a different numerical system that they run by. And people heard me talk about astral longitudes. Well, I need to add to that astral longitudes and latitudes because it's no different than the land of the living. It's just that the spirit have a different set of numbers that they go by and a whole different set of rules that they go by. And so that's the reason, why it's important to know the difference between, mapping out the land of the living and the land of the dead. The reason I'm doing this is because the special month is this month when it's All Souls Day to some nations. It's called All Hallows Eve to other nations. It's called Halloween here. I mean, this Day of the Dead is known all the way, even all the way to India. So it's not really, not just one people that have this knowledge, and it's all at the same time, interestingly, end of October, beginning of November, globally. But anyway, what I'm going to do here is show you a little different sets of numbers, and I'm going to be showing you charts here and explaining a lot of things about the spirit world that I was shown. And a lot of people wonder, is there a spirit world? Well, this agent seemed to know that there was one, and they even can show it. But what I'll do from now on and this point on is I'm going to be doing little short presentations on little parts of what I'm doing with this astral longitude and latitudes. But right now I just wanted to do the introductory part to let what this presentation is about. It's basically about mapping out the land of the dead. I was allowed to do it, but it took its toll on me. Next day, for a while there, I couldn't walk, and it took me a little while to get my bearings straight. But I learned one rule about the underworld: once you go down there, they have a tendency not to want you to let you come back. It's just a lesson to other people that might be trying to do what I'm doing, because I learned it the hard way. But anyway, this is my little introduction to let you know what the show is about. Happy Halloween, happy All Hallows Eve, happy All Souls Day, whatever you want to call it. Um, let's celebrate it because the land of the living is just as important as the land of the dead. And so today's presentation is astral longitudes and astral latitudes. The
Yes.
layout.
Yes.
One is over here at the Flying W Mountain on this end. The other one is Yuma on this side. This is San Miguel River. I believe it's up in Colorado, I think. This other side of this corner. And now look, what is this other corner?
Mount Wilson.
It's part of this layout. And it's not it's the only one. I mean, Skinwalker Ranch is on the line. Look, it's here. Dulce's on the line. It's here. Bradshaw Ranch line is on this square block here, but none of them are on a corner like Mount Wilson is here. See what I'm getting at? It's the only one. I mean, all these are here, but of all the ones that are on a power point that has an actual square block is only Mount Wilson. Now watch this. Skinwalker Ranch, see that line? Then you go down the line, Dulce. Then you go down the line, and then you go to Picacho Peak. And then from Picacho Peak, you go down the line, and then you go over here to this bigger block. And then what happens when you go back down this line? Where does it take you to? Mount Wilson again. It's like a big circle.
that, I mean, that's big square. That it's this layout. I'm still trying to, figure it all out yet because it's all in geometry. But like where Humphreys Peak out, like you were talking about, where say Monster Slayer is located.
Humphreys Peak.
Which
That's
is
in the
right
Diné oral maps.
dead
The
center.
oral history.
Directly below it is Bradshaw Ranch on that line right here. But on the west side is Spirit Mountain. Spirit Mountain is the location for the trade to go down the Colorado River to the Gulf of California, and it's also connected to Mount Wilson this way. That's why Yuma is there. On the east side of this, Humphrey Peak is another location where a possible portal, Zuni, New Mexico, which is on the east side of here, which tells me that there's a portal here. See, all these locations are portal locations, all of them. Here, up here, Picacho Peak, Boulder Top over here. These are all portal locations. And then Dulce's over here. But it's weird. I can't figure it out yet because, like, Thomas Miller Ranch is right next to Dulce. So you look at that. So you go, okay, that's the. But between Thomas Miller Ranch and Dulce, see that line right there? Dulce, Thomas Miller Ranch, paranormal spots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at the middle line. Where does it go? Skinwalker Ranch. See, that's what this, I'm still learning how to read this thing. But it's starting to look like these locations, if you go to them, starting with that little small square in the middle of where Humphreys Peak is located, to this bigger square on this side, which is Supai, the Okchin, High Point, Canyon de Chelly. There you go. There's another portal location there. Do you know where Canyon de Chelly is?
That's my hometown.
Lake Mountain, which is the other one here. See how these are laid out in squares? And then they're laid out in squares, and that's when the Mount Wilson squares are in the place. Squares are this way. But the ones that are PowerPoints are in triangles. See these triangles? This triangle, that triangle. Soldier Summit, Baba Kivri. Iatoy lives at Baba Kivri. So Iatoy is...
Iatoy is like a reincarnation, you're saying,
of one of the divine entities like Quetzalcoatl. So now you got Iatoy in alignment with, what did you say, Monster Slayer?
Yes.
So if this is all tied to like that, then who's...
So then that Iatoy is like a junior, is one of the twins.
There's somebody at Soldier Summit that we're not aware of. If these are two entities, there's got to be a third one to counter Baba Kivri at this end.
Wow.
See? That's exactly in the middle. These are exactly on the sides. There's Iatoy, the creator of the Tona Autumn that made people. And there's Monster Slayer over here. That means there's got to be somebody there. And there's got to be somebody here. And somebody there.
Yeah, because Humphrey Peak that's the home of Monster Slayer.
Because I'm not familiar with your Diné way of thinking, but I'm beginning to think this is laid out in the way that what you call Yebiches might be laid out in that directional influence. That's what I'm beginning to think, and I'm not familiar with your Diné beliefs or any of that, but the Yebiches might be directional entities that are associated with what I'm showing you here. I mean, now you told me that Monster Slayer. I didn't know Humphreys Peak was located for a Monster Slayer until you just told me tonight. I knew about Iatoy. And that said, wow, then who's over here? And who's over there? Who's over here?
Well, I just, I read it in that book that we were looking at earlier. I don't know where it went.
Oh, yeah, the one you brought over.
The Diné oral history map. Yeah.
Now, this is an interesting one because remember that guy that was talking on the presentation on Beyond Skinwalker Ranch? And he came on and he goes, the drone is malfunctioning, and the GPS is reading all weird, and the GPS is reading that it's in Cuba, and that it's and it's going to the Bermuda Triangle. And then and then they just dropped it and didn't think twice about it.
Oh, when the drones were just dropping like.
Yeah, besides them dropping like flies,
Yeah.
drone killer ranch. And but the one that did get off and was reading that it was in Cuba and was going somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to bring this up with the non-natives. When you're doing serious research, you need to be careful about getting caught up in the media hype. Everybody's familiar with the Bermuda Triangle, because that guy with the funny hair and all that talks about it all the time, and all those other people, media
The
hype.
alien guy.
Yeah, the alien guy with the funny hair, the ancient alien guy.
Everybody knows who
The
he
ancient
is.
alien funny hair guy. You know who I'm talking about. So anyway, when you go and start running after the Bermuda Triangle in that way, it deviates you really from what serious research should be. I'm going to make this point because I want to let non-natives know that this is why you need native involvement and a native perspective in anything that's going on in our land called the Americas. When they went over and read the GPS readings and they said it was in Cuba, and they were all freaked out, and the media hype led them that it was going on to the Bermuda Triangle, which I admit it was going in that direction. I could even tell you exactly where it was going. It was going to the Bahamas, to Marsh Harbor at Abaco Island at 26 degrees, 28 minutes north, 77 degrees, 5 seconds degrees west. And it's going to a place called, I think it's called Dry Cay, Cay, and it passed through Moore's Island at 2677 to going toward Marsh Harbor at Abaco Island. Yes, it was going in that direction. But what I'm going to show you is what they didn't do. While the tourists were running off on the media hype of running off and dropping it because it only went to the Bermuda Triangle, I'm going to show you where it was really going. Now look where Abaco Island is. 25, 24, 23. Now that's 23 degrees latitude, 80 degrees longitude. You go to 23 degrees, 81. 23 degrees and 2 minutes and 28 seconds north. 81 degrees, 34 minutes, 39 seconds west to a place called Matanzas, Cuba. That's what was reading on the GPS, that it was going to Cuba. The tourist ran this direction because of the Bermuda Triangle hype with the funny hair guy and Ancient Aliens. Shouldn't be competing with another program anyway, and just do your research. I'm going to show you from a native perspective, from my Chinook map, where it was really going. 2281, 2182, 2083, 1984, 1885, 1786, and it went to 1787. That little dot in between equals 1787, which means 17 there, 87 here. It's right in the middle. That's why it's 1787. This is 1786. That's 1687. So I just want you to know how my work, because 1787 is exactly in the alignment, right in that point right there. And you go down to that point, what is there? San Pedro, Belize, 17 degrees, 54 minutes, 57.53 seconds north, 87 degrees, 57 minutes, 57.24 seconds west. Then you go to 1687, like I said, 1588, and this is where that drone was really going, to 1489 with the diamond here. What's that, 1489? Copan, Honduras. 14 degrees, 50 minutes, 15 seconds north, 89 degrees, 8 minutes, 33 seconds west. In Copan, I think the number was let me see, 426, I think it was, if I remember right. It was a guy named Chinook Charts. And if you go 26 down from Pakal, wait a minute, I think I might have it in my other book. I wrote it down because this was...
So it goes to a person.
Yes, exactly.
And south of Pakal, you said.
Yeah, and I believe I put it down on my Messiah chart here. Because it was so much, I said, maybe I need to put that down. But if I don't, I'm going to forget, and I'll be in trouble as I...
Can you explain what your Messiah chart is?
Oh, okay, I'll find it and I'll explain it. Messiah chart is kind of based on, I don't know if that's going to show that well, on that diagonal line on my America's map here that's going sideways, going South America up into Mexico, America Southwest, all up to the Northwest coast. All along that line, it's called a divine entity alignment, because along that line is all the ties to the people that are creators. There's
Are you talking about the color map, or are you talking about the black and white one?
Well, this map right here, this line right here is a divine entity alignment. The divine entity alignment is set up because Viracocha is on this line, Quetzalcoatl's on this line, Wovoka's on this line, Eotoi's on this line, and there's supposed to be another Messiah showing up somewhere in the Northwest coast because it seems to be going along this alignment.
So and that's 260 years.
Yeah, 260 years.
Every 260 years, there's someone who has been born on that alignment moving north. Is that correct?
Yeah. And as confusing as this is, see, there's Tahuna Tepec, which is way down there in Costa Rica area and all that, the Zapotec area. But as it goes along, this thing goes through all these places called Monte Alban, Oaxaca, Teotihuacan, Quetzalcoatl, see over there, Babaquivi, Eotoy, and up into this neck of the woods in Nevada, is Wovoka, in that neck of the woods. Not only that, if you go in these Messiah cycles, there's like the 260 years, and well, how would you say it? They're all tied together with geographic locations on my chart, and they're also tied into actual cycles in time that occur in 260 years that started in 3214 BC. And every 260 years, a native Messiah shows up. And the one thing that I noticed about the Messiah cycle is there's a guy, and I'm going to locate it real quick here. Because I gotta remember his name, because it's an interesting name. Because it's Knitz. There it is. Knitz Yaks Kook Mo. And I was taking forever to try to. I was trying to remember how to say that.
Knitch Bopol Hole.
So you look at Knitz
or something.
Kukmul. So where's Pakal on this thing here?
Here.
I'm all sideways. Oh, there's Pakal right here. Okay. And remember that these are 686 because I went the wrong direction. So this is 686 where Pakal is. Connects Yak Kakmul 426. Okay, now let's go. 4.
Oh, so this is the time in year. So
this is an example of how this cycle works. 426 is this guy in Copan.
That's when he was around.
He's got those goggles like Lilac.
Okay.
Now you add 280 260. See how it is there?
Yep, you added 260 there. Sorry.
And then you equal it. 686. What's that number right here? 686. You tie that into that. He's tied into Pakal 260 years later. And 946 is Quetzalcoatl. 260 years later is Eatoy in 1206. And then you take that and you go 260. 1466, which is Montezuma himself. 260 to that is 1726, which takes you to Handsome Lake. And then you take half of 260, which is 130, which is half of 260, because 260 is that number I was using. Divide it in half, gives you 130. And so I left off at 17, 20, or 17, okay, and I'm going to get this right eventually. 1726, right?
Oh, so that's the year 1726.
Handsome Lake. Plus that 130, 1856. Let's see. Did I spell it right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Born in 1856. That's what it said. It said born in 1856, which is that year. Yep, 1856.
Well, here we go. 1856. 1856. 1856. 1856. Wovoka.
Is that him?
Mm-hmm. This man, whether anybody wants to believe it or not, during that eclipse and that moment that he died, he personally, as a person, did die. But for the moment after that time, what we call the Creator manifested himself into his body. Or for that moment in time, the Creator was walking on the face of the earth in Wovoka's body. He's in the cycles. But what really surprised me was that the Kakmul guy and Kopan, back to what I was talking about on that mapping, when they were running off to go to the Bermuda Triangle, the real alignment was going to Kopan, which is tied to this Messiah cycle. And what is tied to that Messiah cycle besides, in Kopan?
What?
Somebody that's from Nevada. Somebody that Carl keeps referring to as the shaman. Or they all keep calling the shaman, when it's really the manifestation of Jack Wilson or Wovoka. Because Wovoka is the same as the guy in Kopan, as the same guy as Quetzalcoatl, it's the same guy as Montezuma. And that's the connection between Kopan and why it was going to Kopan in the GPS readings, because Wovoka's from Nevada and they're all familiar with each other. So they know.
Can you talk about Wovoka and his background? Because you have some very interesting information about Wovoka as well.
Wovoka was originally, before he had his vision, and that's after that solar eclipse, was hanging out with Smahola and was getting some of his teachings from John Slocum. And these names aren't familiar with people, so I'll explain who they are. Smahola was a Northwest Coast prophet and medicine man that was way before Wovoka. But Wovoka was inspired by his teachings and was an understudy of Smahola. Smahola was connected to John Slocum. John Slocum was another guy that, like Wovoka, died had a vision that he went to heaven and came back to life and became known by Smahola and John Slocum, another Northwest Coast prophet and Messiah type figure. And so that's how these two are tied together. And when they were together, they had a young understudy named Jack Wilson. And this other native came up and was learning from them their teachings. And this guy with Jack Wilson eventually went back to Nevada and became Wovoka.
And this was in the 1800s?
Yeah, in the 1800s. This is where it gets even weirder. There's another person that was responsible for the Shaker religion, that John Slocum that I'm talking about, because that's part of my people's thing, the Indian Shaker Church in the Northwest Coast. My family and all my relatives are heavily involved in it. John Slocum apparently wasn't the only person that died and had a vision and came back and talked to Native people at that time in the 1800s. There was another person that didn't make in the history books, but was just as important to the local Native people around her. You know what his name was?
What?
Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl.
A direct descendant of mine. Had the same visions as John Slocum and then Wovoka as well. That's my connection to all of this.
Oh, so he's one of your ancestors.
Calty,
Yeah.
Roger Calty, Quetzalcoatl. We might be related. More like directly related. I didn't know about that till my cousin told me when I was talking about, trying to get the Indian Shaker religion history out there, and that's when. Did you know that Quetzalcoatl died and had a vision and came back too? And then when he came back, all the Indians were scared of him because you don't come back from the dead. So he was feared. And after he came back, everybody, oh no, there comes that Coatl guy. Get away. Ah. He died and came back. I died twice. Nobody gave me any good treatment.
Smaholam was also, he was very influential to other people too, wasn't he?
You got to remember, what people don't understand is that everything that happened on the Northwest Coast, what I'm explaining to you in history, eventually evolved into what became the ghost dance movement. It is an extension of the Northwest Coast religion, is the ghost dance movement. You could take the ghost dance movement as an extension of that, and you know what that is? The Native American Church, which is the modern extension of the ghost dance movement. And before that was the Northwest Coast. See how the progression goes? But we were what we call the ancestor to the ghost dance movement. We laid the foundation.
And I think, did you say, or maybe I misheard, at one point that Smaholam also was influential to Red Cloud, or one of the leaders that was out there in the plains area?
I'm going to explain something now to Native people I'm going to say something to you noble red men out there. When Wovoka, the man over here, came up with our message, with our people, it had nothing to do with picking up arms. It had nothing to do with, putting on a shirt and going off to battle and it's going to make you bulletproof. It had nothing to do with going out there and taking on the cavalry with this stupid shirt that's supposed to make you invincible. No. Us noble red men perverted the teachings and we used it for other purposes. And one of the purposes that the Lakota and them used it for was to mobilize their people to go to battle. And how did they get into battle? They bullshitted them into believing if you put on this shirt, you're going to be bulletproof to get them out there to die for nothing. They perverted the teachings. There, I said it. And now, the Lakota, you need to deal with that because you perverted the ghost dance teachings were what they weren't intended to be. They weren't intended to go to battle. They weren't intended to go to war. They weren't intended to have bulletproof vests and garments. You just made that up just for your own political ideals. His teachings had nothing to do with what happened in Wounded Knee when those people were massacred. His teachings had everything to do with peace, harmony. He didn't say you have to go after white people. No, he was saying to get along with them. But we perverted our own teachings. And that's why I said, us noble red men. There, I said it. I've been holding that in for a long time because this man took a lot of flack for what some monkey heads up there in the Plains Indians did by changing his teachings. And who got blamed for it? He did. And he had nothing to do with ghost dance shirts or any of that bulletproof nonsense. We're human too. We make mistakes. We are vulnerable. We always try to want to blame the white man for a lot of the things that are going on, but a lot of the things that are going on in our lives aren't because of the white man. A lot of things that are happening to us are because of us. We like to blame the white man because, it's not my fault. But in reality, it's all our fault.
So this map that you have also indicates that, like you said, it's going up to Tahola.
Well, this one over here is going to Tillamook.
Oh, Tillamook.
Yeah, because the one in Grace Harbor is another whole trade route.
Okay, I had the wrong town then.
Well, there's so many T's up there. Tillamook, on Tahola.
Tahola is right on.
Plinkett.
Is right by the Columbia River on that point, right? And then Tillamook is somewhere different.
Well, I'm going to explain Tillamook. That might be a little. You always hear me talking about Clatsop Nehalem, right?
Yes.
At the mouth of the Columbia. Below us was this group called the Nehalem, which were totally separate from us until the late 1800s, 1900s. And we were the Clatsop. The Nehalem below us united with us to become one people because we were trying to struggle just to survive. The Nehalem, in actuality, are the Tillamook. That's how I'm part Tillamook. Clatsop Tillamook is what I am in actual reality. Even though it says Nehalem and Tillamook are one and the same. So when I say Clatsop Nehalem or Nehalem, it's really referring to the Tillamook people, which is down there where that big stone is on that Goonies movie that they show. I get it.
Yeah.
It's that big stone. That big stone is aligned to Teotihuacan, like it shows on here. This is that's part of the alignment. If anybody knows the Goonie movie. Yeah.
Well, there's gold there too.
There's gold in them there hills. Well, anyway, it says right here, start here, Tillamook. From Tillamook, it starts to go down to this 41 degrees to 40. And then I started to notice that I hit a place called Hidden Cave. So I went and looked it up. 4000 BCE on my alignment. I'll go to the next one. Lovelock Cave at 39,118. 4000 BCE. Okay, well, it's getting interesting. So I go past the Walker River area to a place called Spirit Cave. How old is Spirit Cave? 10,000 BCE. I'm just going down the line. I haven't even gotten, I'm just one after the other. And then Round Mountain. Round Mountain, I said, well, what's got to do with Round Mountain at 38,117, which is right in this area. Round Mountain is connected to all this belted peak and quartzite and this little area right here and this 3 area right here, let alone going this way later, goes to Round Mountain. Round Mountain don't mean nothing to anybody until you really know what trade is really about. Round Mountain, and I'm going to show you real quick here, is in Nevada. And Round Mountain also has, let me see if I can find it here. I think I have it here. Remember. Okay, here we go. Yeah, that's it. Round Mountain, Nevada, on my list. Located in Nye County, Round Mountain Mine is one of the most celebrated gold discoveries in the U.S. The Round Mountain Gold Mine is one of the largest commercial mines in the world and has production that has resulted in well over 10 million troy ounces of gold being produced from this region. Round Mountain. Main reason why everybody was going to this location, why it was connected to Teotihuacan, because they love gold down in that neck of the woods. Teotihuacan. Monte Alban. They got gold down there too. A lot of the gold that they got down there came from here. See, a lot of people, even archaeologists, don't even know this nonsense. So if there's all this gold production going on at Round Mountain, that means all this activity around it, which includes the Belted Mountain and Quartzsite Mountain, are more than likely full of minerals just as much as Round Mountain. You can get to Belted Peak, you can get to Rounded Mountain, but you know where Quartzsite Mountain is?
Where is Quartzsite Mountain?
Some place called Area 51.
Wow.
And on my charts, it's one of the main centrally located places that I'm finding for.
So if it's a base, then the military can buy a $10 million toilet bowl seat.
My main trade location, and it's also a location for Area 51. Well, interesting coincidence. You don't think it's connected to them knowing about what I'm showing here? Because this is a mineral-rich resource area, not only in gold, but also silver, copper, and other minerals as well. Is all on the stretch. Why I wrote the Spirit Peak down here, and this whole little area is the mineral lane, as you can see. Minerals would go this way. We send it out by trade. Minerals will go down this way to Babakivri, where the Tohono are, and from the Tohono they send it down south to Teotihuacan.
And Babakivri is where Iatoy.
Iatoy, yeah, one of the divine entities we talk about. And where else is the other place it goes to? Teotihuacan, who's down there? Quetzalcoatl, another divine entity at 1998. You keep going down there, it goes in between here. I haven't written it down, but it goes through Mount Lalak. The rain god also goes through here. And then it goes to Mount Alban. Mount Alban is the location for the Lord of the Underworld in Monte Alban. But you keep going, it goes all the way down to
Lord of the Underworld. There's probably, like you said, El Dorado is probably there too. Jeez.
Well, El Dorado is made up, by the white man because they think it's one location. What it really is was that there was gold that was scattered across the entire continents through trade, and they mistook that these people were finding it, in their mountain, in their backyard, when actually they were trading it on this network. I felt bad for the guys that were down south that were getting hounded for the gold by the conquistadors when they really got the gold from here and traded it down to there. But then they got crap by the conquistadors thinking that they had all this gold hoarded in the local area when they didn't.
And you know what? They basically provided like millions or even billions of tons of gold and silver to Spain. Like there was so much gold that doubled or tripled like the world's actual
Let's only look at it this way. We natives deserve credit. If it wasn't for our gold and silver, there would never have been a Renaissance in Europe. We funded it.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Nobody ever does. Because we always don't ever think about, they took all our gold and all our silver, and all of a sudden they have a golden age during the Renaissance. And why did they have a Renaissance? Because they had a shitload of money. And where did they get it from? Us. They got all the gold and silver, melted it down, went over there and had a big party and called it the Renaissance.
When was the Renaissance? My brain.
They put on stockings and then they powdered their wigs. And they put on stockings and wood shoes and they danced and clicked their heels. Anyway, this goes all the way down to Tuna Tapek. which is, where it looks like it ends. But there's another chart, which I'll throw for another time, that connects Tahuna Tepec all the way down to a place down in South America, and I think it's called Tumaco. Tumaco is located directly above the Upano Valley. Upano Valley is one of the locations on one of the presentations I was trying not to talk about because I remember telling you that
you don't have
too
to
many
talk
Eldorados,
about it.
and I'm finding them everywhere. And I found Alpano Valley, and I went, "There's an Eldorado right here." But
You're
just
giving
the
it
last
away now,
year,
Raj.
they announced that they discovered it, and so I can talk about it now. I can even tell you it's not the only one either, which is kind of scary even more further because you know how you people get about gold, get a little gaga, next thing you're running down there bugging the natives.
Okay, Raj. So, my brain is like really fried right now.
Well, you got a lot of material. I mean, I'm used to talking. I mean, if you're not used to some, you got material that you probably hadn't heard before either.
No, I haven't.
I mean, like the Knitch thing connection to Pakal, it continues. Carl's freaking out because he can't figure out the connection. And the GPS reading is going to Copan, but Copan is connected to Waboka, Nevada. Mm-hmm. And where was the drone coming out of? Nevada. No big mystery.
Okay, well,
I'll let you go. Brain drain.
It's late. It's been long days.
Hey, but you got some good material.
I still have work to do.
Because I'm still fresh in my brain about talking about it yet. Okay. So when I was able to show it on here, and now I got the charts, I was able to show, not me just talking about it, but, with their own eyes, that I'm not just making this all up. Like, oh, what is this talking about, this trade thing? And then, you'd be amazed. I mean, we weren't just trading coca beans, and jelly fish. Beans, and
you weren't just around
and
the
a fish
corner
and a chili or two,
Jeez.
We were doing some serious trading with the Tasmanians for gold all the way over there too.
Well, there was the dinosaur that ate the person whose toe got.
That guy never got his gold.
I was gonna say his toe went in deep into the mud and then he was gone.
Yeah, the dinosaur. I was wondering. I wonder what's on the menu for lunch today. There it is, right there. I can outrun that thing. That dinosaur runs faster than a jaguar. There's no way you can outrun it. That's why I figured there's only 1 foot and that toe is real deep, because that last moment, that was the last thing he could do, was leave that last print in somebody's jaw.
Oh,
and
man.
Became lunch. No more trading for him.
All right, everyone. Good night.
Right. On that, we'll have a good night. That was part 1 of what we're doing with this series right now. This is going to be part 2. Part 2 is called Mapping the Land of the Dead, and explains the astral longitudes and latitudes, because they're both important to be a part of this thing. And to understand astral longitudes and latitudes, you're going to have to understand that there's a 0-5 formula that goes along with it. Or in other words, any place that has a latitude or a longitude of 0 or 5 is important in mapping out the land of the underworld. And because, it's really important to know these numbers, because they're going to relate to a lot of things that will be going on. We're going to be talking about with the charts, because the 0-5 formula it basically has any latitude or longitude that ends with a 0 or a 5 is considered to be an astral longitude or an astral latitude. And there's certain places where the latitudes and the longitudes intersect, which I believe is the places where porthole activity is more likely to occur. But there's one point too, that in the central axis there's this certain number that comes up that's for global quarterly parts of this, and it's really simple. It's instead of going to the 105, we'll show you the thin veil that is between the spirit world and our world, because the mathematical numbers will show the relationship between our world on the surface and then the underworld that is below us. And so what it'll explain is that it's really a thin veil, because what this image is showing right here is showing the spirit world as the craters coming into our world. And if you look on the sides, they're breaking down the bricks on the side between their reality and our reality. And so basically, it's a real thin veil. And with these numbers, I'll be able to explain the thin veil more in detail.
Hello again. This segment is going to be called Mapping Out the Land of the Dead. Or basically, what I was talking about earlier is the 0-5 formula, which is basically telling you that there's a 0 and a 5 involved in the longitudes and latitudes in order to map out the spirit world. And to better understand that, what you're seeing before you is the chart that I was given to give the layout to how things are laid out for the spirit world. As you'll notice down here, where I'm pointing to right now, 20 right here, that's the 0. That means that is at 20 latitude. And every one of these is a latitude. In other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you hit the 25th latitude. See, there's a 0, there's the 5. The 25th, 26, 27, 28, 29, then you hit 30. There's that 0 again. 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. There's that 5 again. 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. There's the 40. So you notice 0, 5, 0, 5, 0. Now at 120 degrees longitude and going down from there is also set the same way. So what I have set up here is going from every one of these lines is a longitude line. In other words, 120, that'd be 119, 118, 117, 116, and 115, 114, and all the way down here till you get to 110. See, there's that 0, 0 again, and there's the 5. There's the 0, there's the 0, and there's the 5 again. So if you notice, the longitudes are set up the same as the latitudes. They're all in increments of 0 to 5, 0 to 5, 0 to 5, 0 to 5, the same way as the latitudes are showing you. The lines that are going diagonally here are the way that the spirits travel. And each one of these can be located specifically, because each one of these is to a specific latitude and a longitude, whether it's here, whether it's there, whether it's over here, it don't matter, because you can map it out because of the way I have it set up between 0 and 5 latitudes, 0, 5 longitudes, and every one of these places where the lines go can be mapped out. Now, if you notice, right down the center at 110, remember this number, it's really important, is the middle point. The middle point going down goes down to 30 degrees, which is there's that 0, there's that 0. And in this little square box where the X is marked is the center point for all the activity for what's going on with the land of the dead and how they travel in their world, the land of the underworld. So basically 30 degrees latitude and 110 degrees longitude is the epicenter for all the activity that is going on. When I was doing the mapping, the ancients told me to pay special attention to these other specific numbers that they were going to give me. And I didn't understand what they were talking about at the time. But they said, there's an increment thing going on here. I said, okay, so what's this increment thing? Well, if you look at 110 and 105, that exactly in the middle is 107.5, which is exactly between these two, and 110 to 115, 112.5 exactly is in the center between these two. They told me to pay special attention to 10.7.5 from where I'm located. Where I'm located is at 35106, which is pretty much like about here, where the Sandias are at on this thing here. And so I went, that's not too far away. 107 is Mount Taylor, which is, pretty much in this area. And so that's Grants, and that means there's Gallup. And I went and checked it out, and then I found out at 107.5 between Gallups and Grant, because they told me they pay special attention because this is the superhighway upon which the spirits travel. So I looked it up, checked it out, and found out that 107.5 is the exact place for the Continental Divide. That divide goes all the way up to the top of Canada, all the way down into Mexico, Central America, all the way down into South America, and all the way through. That's going to be important because later I'm going to bring up why this is an important issue about, the line that goes from the tip of Canada to the southern tip of South America, and how this works out with this, how the spirits travel on through the Continental Divide. So the Continental Divide seems to be the way that they travel about through this route. Like you said, 110, I told you earlier right here to pay attention to. 110 down on this end over here, and this very center point right here is really important because at 107.5 is not only the Continental Divide, but if you go back a little further this way to 105.5, you got the Thomas Miller Ranch, which is the ranch that's up by the Colorado-New Mexico border. You go this way, you're going into the direction where the Mount Wilson area is at, where the Little Black Mountain is located. And then when you get to 114, you are at Mount Wilson. And here's another astral longitude right next to Mount Wilson, 115. What was found on 115? At the other end of 115, down in this area right here, there was found a metal megalith sitting on top of a mountain peak. 115, Las Vegas, not too long ago. And what happened to another one? Another one showed up outside of Denver. There was another metal megalith found on a mountaintop there. And then where was that found at? That was found at 40 degrees and 105 degrees over here at longitude. There's that 105 again. Metal megalithic, metal structure. I wonder if there's a metal structure at 110, because that's the only place that's still missing a metal structure. But it was important to know that 107.5 is the superhighway through which all the spirits and deities and everything that we imagine out there, they travel upon. And I'm not just talking skinwalkers, I mean deities with both negative and positive. Talking about aliens, Bigfoots, orbs, let alone spirits and all that are going along with it. And everything that goes along on that line is anything that had passed on in the past, including the ancient past. They seem to be able to travel along this line. But anyway, this is the layout: 40, 35, 30, 25, 20. Then the other way it goes 120 to 110 to 100. And all of this is a 0-5 formula. And this is the exact layout for the spirit world. And where the shadow is showing right here below is pointing to the epicenter, which is right here. And that's why I have the shadow right here. Because there seems to be activity from this point that way, this point that way, like an hourglass. and there's this pyramidal form in the shape right here at 30 degrees latitude, 110 degrees longitude. And a little later, I'm going to explain why this is really important on the next segment of what I'm doing with charts. But right now, this is the beginning of it, so at least you get an idea of what I'm talking about. So hold on, and I'm going to see if I can get my other chart together real quick here, because it shouldn't be too hard to do, because I tried to mark it all out. Yeah, I tried to mark it out there, little kitty. I did my best to do it. I sure did this. Uh-oh, I think that's in my other book. We're going to have to put this on pause for the cause, but I'll be right back. Hola, I'm back. I had to get the other chart because I left it on the table and I should have brought it with me, but here it is. This is the important chart. This is the beginning of the chart that shows the connection to a skinwalker location, but even deeper than that. I'm going to put the pen right here where the circle is located, right, this little red pencil, and where it's pointing to is Bella Cola. Bella Cola is up near the Canadian-Alaskan border, and it goes exactly to Mount Downton, which is up there at Bella Cola. You follow these latitudes and longitudes diagonally down, 53, 52, 51, 50, 49, 48 down here. And when you hit 48 on this area over here at 118, you're hitting Colville, Washington, which is up near the Canadian border. So you keep going 46, 45, 44, 43, 42, 41, 40, and then you hit 39, 111. What is that 39, 111? Soldier Summit. And what is that Soldier Summit? It's one of the main trade points for this area. So when you go down from 39 to 110, and then you go here to 39, 109, which is right between these two square blocks, exactly right there. And why is that important? That location is called the Uinta Basin, also known as Skinwalker Ranch. And what goes on in that area? Shapeshifting and skinwalking. So you go 39, 109, and you go 38, and then you hit 37, 108. What is that 37, 108? Mesa Verde, up near the Hoban-Wheat, Colorado 4-state area where it comes together. Then you go to 36, 107. And what is that 36, 107? Chaco Canyon. And then when you go from 36, 107, you go to 35, 106. What is that 35, 106? The Sandia Mountains and the petroglyphs here in Albuquerque. This is important to know because Chaco represents the center star of Orion's belt, and Sandia and Mesa Verde are the stars on the outside of the center of the Orion's belt. The same is true for Skinwalker Ranch, which is at 39,109, which is the center star for Orion's belt, and then 40 is the other star in Orion's belt, and 38 is the other one. But it has the same thing. It goes all the way up here to Washington State. But this is important to know that Mesa Verde, Chaco Canyon, and Albuquerque are on a direct alignment with Skinwalker Ranch at the Uinta Basin, which is directly connected to Bella Cola all the way up to Alaska and Canada. So we got that down. Now I'm going to show you another chart. Let's see if I can center it right, because everything's reversed. So I got to go backwards. And backwards is no fun. Okay, I think I got it now. We'll start at the top, and I'll work my way down. I think I got it. Oh, too high. Uh-oh. The other way, dude. Everything's reversed, remember? Everything's reversed. Okay. Let's start here. Remember what I told you about remembering that 110 on the mapping out the land of the dead. Well, this one is just one longitude away at 109, and its neighboring line is 110, or the astral longitude of 110. But 109 is the land of the living. And who's on this land of the living at 109 degrees longitude? Well, let's start at the top. When we start at the top, way in Canada, at 59 degrees latitude, 109 degrees longitude, is Lake Athabasca. What is that Lake Athabasca? The Dene. That's why the arrow is pointing at. So you're talking about up there now. Now you're going down to 46 degrees latitude, 109 degrees longitude. And what is that? That's Montana. And I believe that's probably in the Glacier National Park area. Then you go on down to 40 degrees and 109 degrees longitude. And what's that 40 degrees latitude? The Uinta Basin. And what is that? The Uinta Basin? Skinwalker Ranch. So you keep going down to there. You go to, let's see, 36 degrees latitude, 109 degrees longitude. Where does it take you to? It takes you to Canyon de Chelly. Oh, I forgot to mention that. Above Canyon de Chelly is Hobenweep. Hobenweep is also included in this thing as well, because it has its own little thing of 37,110. So Hobenweep is also included, 109, Hobenweep is included in this because it's in the 109 longitude as well as Canyon de Chelly, as well as you go all the way down to the Petrified Forest, and you go on down, you go to Springerville, Arizona, and then you go all the way down to the Point of Pines, which is on the Apache Reservation, and you go all the way down, keep going to Safford and down to the Chiricahuas in that area, and you keep on going on down. So you notice that all of these things are going down from Lake Athabasca, Montana, the Uinta Basin, Hobenweep, Canyon de Chelly, and also is going over here to Springerville and Safford and the Chiricahuas. And if you go on the other side of the equator, it'll take you all the way down here to 109 degrees south, Easter Island. So from Easter Island on the southern hemisphere, all the way up to Lake Athabasca, way up here, is connected by the 109th degree longitude. And if you take that 109 and you add one more number to it, it'll take you to that 110. And what was on that 110? One of those central longitudes. And that central longitude, let's see if I can do this without getting too lost. There's 110. There's epicenter. That's how astral longitudes work next to the line of the living. And this is why 110 here, 110 there, and this middle part here is the epicenter for all the spiritual activity that's going on, whether it's positive or negative. And they seem to all to travel along the Continental Divides, which is interesting because they go all the way from the top of Canada to the South America, which brings up another interesting thing. Because in the early 1900s, they disturbed that line by building a thing called the Panama Canal, which destroyed the membrane between our world and the underworld. And that Panama Canal allowed leakage to come through, so the spirits not only could come out from what I'm showing you on this chart, they can travel along those continental divides and come out anywhere they darn please on this planet. Because every continent has a continental divide, including all of the Americas. So they're like little pinholes. They get out and they're able to get out of the underworld and crawl up into the continental divides and pop up anywhere they darn please, or anywhere on this chart, basically. So basically, I'm hoping I explained this right, because this is kind of, well, the only way to explain what I believe is really going on to get away from a lot of the media hype that has to do with skinwalkers and shapeshifters and all that. And a lot of it is just media hype, but none of it is based on really true math, equations, and like I'm showing you right here. And I believe I have the thing to it. The other thing they gave to me, but I have to show it to you later, that's applied to this, is not only how these entities like Bigfoots and all that, orbs, and not travel along this line, but down the road on the next special edition, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you guys, and I'm still working on it right now, and I'm trying to turn it around so you can get a better view of it. It's the layout where how UFOs travel along the same route, how they use these routes to get to where they need to go, and how they work in waves in 13-year cycles, and how in 1952 there was a UFO wave in DC, and how in 1965 that there was a UFO wave in the American Midwest, and in 1978 there was a UFO wave in Italy, and all up to 1991 there was a mass sighting in Mexico City during the solar eclipse. But this is a whole nother subject, because this is tied to this, because this is how they travel. And I hope I didn't confuse anybody, because I'm going to end it right here, and we'll get back to it later, because I think that's a lot to digest, because I have more, but I'll get closer to that near our Halloween show. So I hope I didn't confuse anyone, and I'll talk to you all later. And now you understand that the underworld can be mapped, or basically the land of the dead. Happy Halloween, happy All Hallows Eve, happy All Souls Day, and all the above.